Next up, we have a combat conservationist in Damian Mandor. He's the founder of the International Anti-Poaching Foundation. He's a former sniper in the Australian Special Forces who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. He also managed the Iraq Special Police Training Academy, overseeing the training of up to 700 cadets at a time. Frustrated by the inability of law enforcement and national governments to effectively counter rhino poachers during a trip to Zimbabwe, he founded the International Anti-Poaching Foundation, IAPF, and applied military training and techniques to wildlife units in hopes of protecting endangered species around the world. Let's hear it for Damian Mandor.
Thanks, Todd. The World Wildlife War is acknowledged by few and fought by fewer. Whilst funding pours into humanitarian causes, game rangers struggle to defend wildlife. We function on the scraps of an aid industry because intrinsically animals are not considered as important as human beings. Now, I call it a wildlife war because across the world we see criminal syndicates using military precision, poach with swift, calculated ferocity, using automatic weapons, night vision equipment. Well-trained units strike animals while they carry out the most primary desire of any creature, to live. And whilst game rangers are tracking fading footprints from the scene of a crime, the lives they defend with their own are already being traded on the other side of the world. Great apes share the same unfortunate prestige as rhinoceros, elephant, tiger, and many other iconic species that the International Anti-Poaching Foundation fights to protect. They are high target species whose very struggle for survival represents that of Mother Nature herself. On only a handful of occasions in the past 500 million years, half of all species on Earth have gone extinct. This is what we term a mass extinction. A recent study, The Ethics of Species, published by Cambridge University Press, projects that by 2100, half of all species we have on Earth today will be gone forever. Now, for the first time in history, this mass extinction is a man-made phenomenon. So I'm going to speak about Africa now because that's my home. The United Nations Population Division projects that the number of human inhabitants on the African continent will double to 2 billion by 2040. Now, unfortunately, I've got little confidence that we can mobilise the hearts and minds of a continent with a common mindset of immediacy, that the long-term preservation of wildlife is more important than food on the table tonight. You couple that with a common lack of sufficient political will to protect these animals, and we have a recipe here for extreme challenge. Whilst it may take generations or major catastrophe to wake up humanity to this environmental cause, in the meantime, to save high target species, I believe we must adopt a military approach. Are we ready, financially, logistically, politically, and morally, to adopt this mode of thinking? Can we afford to ignore the important contributions that military tactics and technologies can bring to conservation when those same principles are being used by criminal syndicates to destroy high target species? Whether we like it or not, military tactics and technologies are the reality of a successful conservation formula at the front lines of the World Wildlife War. Anti-poaching isn't pretty. Rangers do carry guns. Sometimes they're shot, sometimes they shoot. Our camouflage approach to protecting animals may be discomforting for some, particularly when environmentalists, animal rights, humanitarians, military types, conservationists, they all sit at different seats on the ideological spectrum. Despite this, we can and must find common ground on this devastating global issue. So one of our brave warrior game rangers, his name is John Matenga, and John has conservation beating through his veins. He's been trained and equipped like a soldier. The rhino population that John and his team protect has suffered no loss in 5 long years. Now, outside of his reserve in Victoria Falls, the nearest population of rhinoceros to John's camp has been decimated from 76 down to 7 in 7 years. So as demonstrated time and time again on the front lines of the world wildlife war, where human intervention can positively change the fate of nature, we must be light-handed no longer. Rangers of the world should be trained, equipped and supported to the levels required in the same custom as our police and military agencies. Alongside our donors, officials and thinkers, we need conservationists that can fight like soldiers, and soldiers with the passion of conservationists. To declare war in defence of these dying global treasures may seem sweeping and heavy-handed, but in dire circumstances, it's often only with heavy hands that we have a canvas for the future. This isn't a call for mercenary action or the uprising of a militia, and I'm not expecting tanks and Apaches to roll over the horizon and hand them out like Christmas presents. This is a global call to implement the necessary structured training, technology, intelligence, command and control for anti-poaching, the last lines of defence for wildlife. Protecting high target species must be the benchmark of wildlife defence. When we can protect these animals, the hardest to protect, we know that everything else in that ecosystem is safe from poachers. At a deeper level, such as the culture of war and security has taken over our generation, subsuming the notion of peace as a concept, we must find a way to penetrate the minds of this and future generations with the environmental narrative. This responsibility of a shift towards protecting Mother Nature is ours as a whole. And whilst we can't shift the mindset of a generation overnight, we can save high target species today. But to do that, force is a vital prescription. Before I close, I'm going to leave you with some words of Winston Churchill, who summarises the essence of common enemy we face and the resolve required to save high target species. You ask, what is our policy? And I will say, it is to wage war by sea, land and air, with all our might, with all the strength that God can give us. To wage war against a monstrous tyranny never surpassed in the dark, lamentable catalogue of human crime. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? And I can answer with one word: victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. Victory however long and hard the road may be. For without victory, there is no survival. Let that be realised. We need the help of the world to defend the defenceless. And where those people of the world cannot help us protect animals, and I mean any animals, then I lay down the challenge now to not be responsible for their suffering. Thank you.